right, here we go. Question 18 from our Precalculus, homework 13 in MyLab Math. They want us to find the sum of this sequence. And then if I look ahead, it says complete the sum of the sequence. And I'm going to have to input basically two numbers into these boxes to fit this format. So let's take this sequence to the scratch work and see how we're going to answer the question. All right, with our sequence copied over here into our scratch work, there's a couple of things to point out. First of all, the obvious that the first term is an eighth. And if you notice, the subsequent terms involve exponentials. That is a good indication that your sequence is geometric. And the other thing that may not be so obvious but is nice to know is when they express the last term in terms of n, they are basically giving you the general term of the sequence. So let's make some notes and see if what I said is correct. So I believe this last term is the general term, 7 to the n minus 1 over 8, and I can rewrite that in general term form if I get rid of the divided by 8 and express that as a multiplication. Do you understand that multiplying by 1/8 is the same as dividing by 8? So this would be 1/8 times 7 to the n minus 1. And if this is the correct general term, plugging in a 1 should give me the first term of the sequence. So that would be 1/8 times 7 to the 1 minus 1. But 1 minus 1 is 0. Anything to the 0 power is 1. 1/8 times 1 is 1/8. Now that doesn't prove that this is correct. It just generates the first term. What's going to verify that is if I do the next 2 or 3 terms and see if it produces the terms of my sequence. And I'm not going to show that. You can do repeated substitution for 2, 3, and 4 if you want, but this is the correct general term, and that indicates that this sequence is definitely geometric. So we do need to find the sum. So we need a formula for finding the sum of a geometric sequence, and here it is. To find the sum of the first n terms of a geometric sequence, this is the formula we need. Notice in this formula is the first term, which we know, the value for r, the common ratio, which we also know from our general term, and then the last piece of the puzzle is how many terms are there. And so that's the complicated piece that I'm going to try to break it down and show you how to figure that out. So if we take and rewrite our first term using the general term, that's going to be 1/8 times 7 to the 1 minus 1. And I'm going to leave that like that for just a second. And then I'm going to go dot, dot, dot to the last term, which we could rewrite that as 1/8 times 7 to the n minus 1. Now having the first term and the last term written like this is going to indicate how many terms there are, which is the value of n. So notice we're starting with n equals to 1. This minus 1 is part of the exponent. We're going to finish with just n. So the last term is going to be if n is, well, n. And now I have every piece for the sum formula. We just need to plug and play. So here we can have the sum of the n terms, knowing that we're going to n, is going to be the first term, which is 1/8, times 1 minus r. Remember, r is the common ratio, or also the base of the exponential, to the n. N stays in this case, all over 1 minus r, which is 1 minus 7. And now all we need to do is simplify this rational expression into the format that MyLab Math wants. All right, so we're going to start with 1/8 times 1 minus 7 to the n all over means divided by 1 minus 7 is -6, and then I can multiply by the reciprocal. So instead of divided by -6, I can say multiply by -1/6, and then I can multiply my fractions together. And so that's going to give us S sub n equals -1 over 6 times 8 is 48. And then what I'm going to do, since I really need this to be some number n minus 1, since this is the format I need these two signs to change. So the way that you can change the signs of the terms in the parentheses is you can factor out a negative. Factoring out a negative will make the coefficient positive, and then those signs will change, giving me +7 to the n, and the 1 changes to -1. Now at this point I am done because I have the format that MyLab Math needs. Let's go put these values in and see if we're right. All right, here we go. Into our MyLab Math, the coefficient was 1 over 48, and the value of r was 7. And that's going to do it for that problem. So if you have any questions or comments about anything covered in this video, please feel free to leave those in the comment section below, or you can text me. And thanks for watching.